UFC 226 is coming at us on Sunday, and New Zealand's own Dan Hooker is on the card, but as he does for all the UFCs, we go through the card fight by fight, Dan, and we're really appreciative that you do your homework on these fighters. You'd be one of the best analysts in New Zealand of it, so we're going to go fight by fight. One of them will be yours, so I'm not going to draw too much on that because
I'm gonna annoy all these people and then have to see them at the fighter hotel. So let's get into it.
So the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas is where it's all going down, which I think is the home. I was going to say the home court, the home ground, the home something of the Las Vegas Knights, which were the Golden Knights, which were the ice hockey team that made the Stanley Cup final. So it'll be massive, massive event. First fight, Jamie MOYLE against Emily Whitmire. Two light on experience, 4 fights and 2 fights, I think, in the UFC or MMA. Neither of them has won by a knockout. So is it the most technical fighter is the one to look at here?
Yeah, this fight, you got 2 girls coming off the Ultimate Fighter TV show. Both are coming off losses. So that's why it's kind of been put on as the first fight of the night on a card like this. Whitmire, to me, looks very inexperienced on the ground when she gets taken down. She doesn't look like she has that deep of a game and that much knowledge on the ground. So if I had to pick someone, I would pick MOYLE grinding out a decision. She's quite a good wrestler, quite strong in the top position. So I see MOYLE getting Whitmire down, controlling her for the 3 rounds and taking home a decision.
Brilliant. Second fight on the cards, we've got Lando Venata is the favourite against Draka Close. My notes say Venata lands more punches and gets hit by more punches. So he sounds like an aggressive, maybe slightly weaker defender, but you're the expert. Yeah,
Venata's one of the most creative strikers, especially in the lightweight division. Very interesting to watch. He does a lot, switch stances, a lot of head movement, mixes in some beautiful style as well. He's one of my favorite fighters to watch in the striking aspect because he is so sharp and so clean. Close, on the other hand, is quite a strong wrestler. He has very good wrestling chops, but he doesn't seem to implement them so well. He likes to stand also. So I'm picking Venata taking this one via decision. Close is very heavy-handed, but he's quite flat-footed, whereas Venata's like quite loose on his feet. He can switch stance, get in and out quite well. So I see him, just because he has more tools on the feet, I see him being able to pick Close apart and be able to get out of that takedown. He trains at a very strong team, Greg Jackson's in New Mexico. So I'm thinking his takedown defense, will be right up there to deal with Close's, wrestling chops. And I'm picking Venata via decision in this one.
Fight 3, we'll pretend you're not one of them. Let's see how this goes. You preview this fight and you're not one of them. Dan Hooker out of New Zealand. UFC got big raps about the future on this guy. 16-7. He's 2 inches taller and he's got a 4-inch reach advantage. But this Gilbert Burns with a 14-2 record, when you see the photos on the UFC website, he looks huge.
No, he is huge. He's famous for making big weight cuts. He actually showed up to a UFC fight week. We have to check in with the UFC on Tuesday, and then weigh-in is on Friday. He showed up Tuesday at 85 kilos, and our division's limit is 70 kilos. So he rocked up 4 days out from weigh-in, 15 kilos over the weight. So this guy does a very big weight cut. He's quite well known. UFC actually scrapped the fight. He showed up at 85 and they said, we're not even going to let you attempt to make the weight. We're pulling the fight. So this is why a lot of guys have been hesitant to take the fight, because he is so big, and with the big weight cut, there's a risk of injury and also of them not being able to show up on the day. But look, we're a week out from the fight now. He's still in it. He's still good to go. So I'm looking forward to the fight. I'm picking that he's going to come out like a bull in a china shop. I feel like he's going to get tired, and I'm going to stop him in the 3rd round.
Yes. Just that simple. Then the next one on the card, fight 4, is Curtis Millender against Maxi Griffin. Curtis Millender, 15-3. Maxi Griffin 14-4. Very comparative stats here that Curtis Millender, 60% of the time goes to the distance, 40% of the time KOs, no submissions. Maxi Griffin, 40% the distance, 50% the KOs. So I'd say eliminate submissions from this fight. They either both stay awake or one goes to sleep.
Yeah, definitely this is going to be a striking matchup. You know, there are a lot of striking matchups on this card where the UFC matchmakers have put strikers against strikers, which people love more than anything else. And this is really one of them. This, I feel, though, is going to be a pretty tentative affair because this is not like a forward pressure fighter fighting against a fighter that likes it on the outside. This is two fighters that like fighting at long range. Millender is very tall for the weight class, very long. He likes to keep it on the outside, and he has a very traditional and classical kickboxing style where he likes to just slowly cut you off and wear you down before he looks for his finishing shot. Griffin, he's coming off a victory over the very heavy-handed Mike Perry, who's fighting later on in the card, and he has very good footwork in that fight. On the outside, he really impressed me with his footwork and his movement and his display of different footwork styles and different tools. So I'm picking Griffin in this fight via decision. I feel like it's going to be a pretty tentative fight, but I feel like Millender has more options. I mean, Griffin has more options than Millender. You know, Millender's pretty bit too classical and doesn't really have the UFC experience to change his game at this moment.
The pen's coming out because you've picked an underdog. He gets the big star around his name. He's the underdog. So that was fight 4. Fight 5, we've got, you were teaching me how to say this guy's name, Rafael ASSUNCAO.
Close enough.
Close enough. I'll get this one right, against Rob Font. 10-1 in the last 11. And Font's the underdog here. Is it closer than that?
No, I'm picking ASSUNCAO to be quite the favorite in this fight. You know, he is one of the elites of the bantamweight division. Yeah, he's of his last 11, that's 10 wins, and their only loss was to the champ, TJ Dillashaw. He lost a decision loss to the champ. I think it was at UFC 200. So he is really in that elite bracket, and this is his second number 13 ranked fighter he's fought on the trot. More so because I believe that getting another fighter in the top 5 to accept a fight against him is a bit difficult. ASSUNCAO's pick your poison. He's very strong pressure on the feet, has very good striking, and he's an animal on the ground. So a lot of people want to keep it off the ground with him. Font is no pushover. He's number 13. He's on a good run, coming off a win against Thomas Almeida. Very good boxing, good wrestling, but I feel like ASSUNCAO is just in that elite tier of bantamweights, and I see him taking the decision in this one. Font's tough. I don't think it'll be close, but I think ASSUNCAO will dominate this fight.
Next one, we've got Yancy Medeiros against Mike Perry. Mike Perry, 100% KO rate. 100%. What a stat.
Yeah, Perry's like a fan favorite fighter. You know, he comes out, he's not like super technical, but he just tries to take your head off, and he has some real natural athletic abilities, and he has just leveled some guys in the past. Medeiros I feel like has been handpicked to get Perry back on track. Medeiros was on the best run of his career, taking out some good guys, and then he was stopped in his last fight by Donald Cerrone. And so I feel like this is a fight to get Mike Perry back on track. Medeiros is one of those fighters, you know, more of a Diaz-style fighter where he takes a shot to give one, takes a shot to give one. But if a guy that's as heavy-handed as Mike Perry, you know, that's a real dangerous tactic. I feel like he's going to take the shot and nothing's going to come back. I'm picking Mike Perry KO.
Keep that 100%. Next up, we've got the most odds-wise, lopsided price-wise event with Paulo Costa, the hottest favourite on the night, against Uriah Hall from Jamaica. It's $1.20 and $4 for Uriah Hall, and it's a striker versus striker by the looks, the thing you say the fans love.
Yeah, another beautiful striker versus striker. The matchmakers Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard have done a phenomenal job with this card, getting them matched up. Yeah, this would not be a bad bet, in my opinion.
The $4 one.
The $4. This is not a bad bet. Paulo Costa has just been absolutely destroying guys. His name is the Eraser for a reason. He's just been wiping guys out. Very athletic, but there have been some flaws in kind of where I've seen other strikers kind of clip him on the chin throughout the thing, but he's just so physically gifted that he can kind of walk through these shots. He's not super technical. I would say that his knockouts are more due to natural attributes as opposed to, very refined skill. Uriah Hall, my teammate Israel Adesanya, just had like a bit of an argument.
Did he?
He was saying that Uriah Hall is a bit of a button basher. You ever play PlayStation with your mates and one of them just repeatedly throws the same move until something lands? He said that Uriah Hall's like that. I feel like he's a bit more technical than this. I've got him in there with a chance, and I'm actually going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to pick Uriah Hall. I feel like Paulo Costa has not been tested at like a very high level. Uriah Hall has had some recent losses. He's coming off a win, but his losses were to, Robert Whittaker, Brunson, Gegard Mousasi. So these are some of the best middleweights in the world. It's not like he's losing to absolutely no one. I feel like Hall can give Costa his first loss, and I'm going with the big underdog.
Nice. Another underdog. That gets a square as well. So he gets a square and a star for Uriah Hall. Then we've got Gokhan Saki against Khalil Rountree Jr. Saki looks like an all-around type fighter, whereas Rountree Jr. just looks a bit of a power man, real tough guy without the technical expertise of the guy he's going to fight.
Yeah, so Gokhan Saki is one of the, he's a legend in the kickboxing sport. He's been around the kickboxing game for a very long time. He's a Glory light heavyweight champion, knocking out Nathan Carnage Corbett, who's a legend in Australia, and also Tyrone Spong. So those are two of the other best kickboxers in the world. So Saki is one of the biggest names in kickboxing. So for him to come over to the UFC is like a very big deal. Rountree, I feel, has been handpicked as one of the guys that are not very smart fighter. He kind of bull rushes and he likes to throw punches. Jiu-jitsu's not great, so he's pegged to stand with Gokhan Saki, which is not a very good idea against one of the best kickboxers in the world. So I feel like Gokhan Saki will get the KO in this fight because Rountree's kind of been handpicked to throw hands with Saki.
So we've had lots of strikers. The next fight, I think, to me, looks like wrestler-striker, where we see CHIESA against Pettis. CHIESA's a slight favourite as the wrestler, Pettis at the striker, slight underdog.
Yeah, so Pettis is like a real flashy striker, likes his jumping kicks, flying kicks, and real technical on the feet, beautiful on the feet, amazing to watch. CHIESA is absolute python. Like, he is a big guy for the division. He's one of these guys that'll walk in there, weigh in at 70 kilo. They'll walk in the cage at 85 kilo. Like, he's a real big boy. And his style, he kind of just marches you down. There's nothing flashy about his striking, but he'll march you down. He'll eat some shots. He'll drag you to the ground and he'll strangle you. And I feel like this is a fight that this is going to happen in. Pettis does not handle fighters like this. A guy that just walks him down, gets a hold of him, drags him, gets his back and chokes him out. I'm seeing CHIESA take this one via submission.
Then we've got Francis Ngannou. He's actually a very short favourite against Derek Lewis. And, of course, New Zealanders know all about Derek Lewis. He fought Mark Hunt a couple of years, 2 or 3 years ago now. I've written 2 words here as my notes for this fight. Bang, bang. Bombs away.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good assumption of this fight. Both of them, another striker versus striker matchup. These are 2 real heavy-hitted guys, two guys that are strikers, and they rely heavily on their natural abilities. Like, these are natural KO artists. They're not super technical guys. So when I have 2 fighters that rely heavily on their physical attributes, I more have to side with the fighter that has the more physical advantages. And Ngannou, you know, he has the longer reach. He is in better shape, in my opinion. Like, he carries less weight. And just watching the two fighters, I feel like Ngannou moves more athletically than Derek Lewis does. You know, Derek Lewis kind of walks you down and eats some shots, gives some back, whereas Ngannou is very athletic. I feel like this guy could be playing in the NFL. He could be making millions of dollars if he wanted to in the NFL, but he's stumbled into MMA, and it's kind of a blessing that he has. I'm going to have to side with Ngannou with the KO over Derek Lewis just because of the pure physical attributes that this guy possesses.
Then we've got the main undercard, and geez, in any other UFC event, this would be the main event with Max Holloway against Brian Ortega. Max Holloway is the favourite in this one. He's on a 12-fight winning streak. Ortega's 14-0. Holloway's one of those old-fashioned fighters. I'll fight anyone, anywhere. I don't care about reputation. I don't care about money. I'll fight anyone. A bit like you. But this is a stunning fight to look forward to.
Yeah, this is a real exciting fight. Max Holloway up there, the top one or two guys that I enjoy watching. Very technical. You know, this is not a guy that relies on physical attributes. He's a very skillful fighter, very good takedown defense. I learn a lot watching Max Holloway's footwork. Like, he has some of the best footwork in all of MMA. So, you know, if you're a young fighter out there, just watch as much Max Holloway as you can, because this guy is one of the best. Technically, Ortega's kind of has each end of the spectrum. He has very deadly jiu-jitsu and he has very deadly striking, whereas the wrestling aspect, not so strong, you know? And I feel like Max Holloway has more tools on the feet, has better footwork on the feet, and I don't feel like Ortega has the attributes and the wrestling chops to drag this fight to the ground. I see it taking, you know, it's a 5-round fight, but I see Ortega wearing down. And when it comes down to the championship rounds, I'm picking Max Holloway to stop Ortega.
And see, round 4's at 11s, round 5's at 15s.
Not bad.
But if you're a fighter in your 5-round fight and you'll know you're 3 rounds up and you've got 2 rounds to go, do you have the ability, does the adrenaline allow you the ability to say, I'm just going to stay out of trouble now, I'm three rounds up?
You could, you could, but then it comes down to the type of fighter that you are. And Max Holloway has proven to not be that type of fighter. If he's 3 rounds up, if he's 4 rounds up, there's a famous fight with him and Ricardo Lamas where it was a 3-round fight, but he dominated the fight for two rounds, and then it came down to the last 10 seconds, and he gave the chance to Lamas to knock him out. Max Holloway stood in the center of the cage, he pointed at the ground, and he just threw bombs for the last 10 seconds. So he had the fight won. He had the fight all the bag. All he had to do was dance for the last 10 seconds. But this is a fighter that decided to point his finger at the ground and say, let's put it on for the fans for these last 10 seconds, 15 seconds. So I feel like he could grind out the decision, but he's just not the fighter to do that.
Right, and then, of course, the main event. He's a guy I've seen more often in a UFC chat studio than in the octagon in recent times, and Daniel Cormier, a lot of opinions. He's 39 years old, and I think I'm right in saying he's only ever lost twice, both to John Jones. He doesn't fight John Jones, but Stipe, there's so many. Yeah, MIOCIC is unbelievable. I guess you write off Cormier at your peril because he's done so much and he's a true legend of the sport. But is he perhaps biting off a bit more than he can chew?
Yeah, this is kind of a win-win fight for Daniel Cormier. You know, he's the title holder at light heavyweight. Now he's moving up to fight the heavyweight champion. It's win-win because, say, MIOCIC cleans him out of there in the first round. He still goes back and defends his title and gets pay-per-view points on that as well. So I'm saying it's win-win as he makes a lot of money from this fight, champion versus champion, gets a pay-per-view percentage, and then regardless of result, he still makes pay-per-view points in his next fight. So he's in the twilight years of his career, so he's kind of looking to make as much money as he can in these last years, and this is what I'm seeing for this fight. Because in terms of the technical side of things, I don't really see how Daniel Cormier can get it done in this fight. MIOCIC is a very strong wrestler. I don't think Cormier has the size advantage. You know, he's been cutting down to light heavyweight these last few years, where MIOCIC is a legit heavyweight. There's no way you're getting this guy to trim down to 92 kilograms. You know, this is a legit heavyweight. And when it comes, you know, I don't see Cormier being able to get this fight to the ground. So this turns into a boxing match. And MIOCIC has far better boxing than Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier's boxing is effective because he mixes it with his takedowns. You're so worried about the takedown that you kind of let him land some shots. Whereas MIOCIC has that wrestling chops. I see MIOCIC picking apart Cormier, wearing him down and getting a TKO.
A TKO. Early, probably mid-rounds, something like that?
Mid-rounds.
Yeah, that is the very strong favourite is MIOCIC. $2.60 to win by KO. The last thing on Cormier, like, it is a win-win. So so a loss here won't tarnish his legacy.
It's risk versus reward, right? Like, it's not going to tarnish. I don't feel like it does tarnish. What does losing to the heavyweight champion of the world tarnish your legacy? Like, if you're going to lose to one guy, I feel like losing to the heavyweight world championship is the most, dignifying loss that you can have in your record. So I don't blame him for going for this opportunity.
What would happen if he won? What would happen if he won this?
And this is the sport we're in. It's risk versus reward. So the risk of fighting the heavyweight champ just highly outweighs, you know, he's not. That's why I'm saying it's win-win. What risk did he take in losing? Everyone expects the guy to lose. But if he does win, well, then that catapults him right back up. And then I feel like the Brock Lesnar fight can come in and Daniel Cormier will set himself up for life if he gets this one done.
And the last question, and it's been on my mind since we first started talking. How do you lose 9 kilos in 1 week? How do you do it?
It's a bit of a science to it.
Is it really, really hard? Is it like torture? Is it water torture? Is it
like
tuna torture?
It's like a mix of a lot of things. I pretty much go down to lean chicken breast and walnuts for the last week. So it's not the most interesting diet the last week. And it's a bit of the reverse effect. So you do what's called a water load, where you drink 10 litres of water Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 2 litres on Thursday, and then nothing until weigh-ins. So you go for 27 hours without water and you get very dehydrated, and then you can jump in a sauna and sit in there for a few hours. So yeah, a lot goes on behind the scenes to make weight. So I can see why Daniel Cormier is fighting for the heavyweight title.
He won't be eating chicken breast and walnuts.
Yeah, he won't be. He'll be at KFC and Popeye's chicken. I'm sure of it.
Hey, Dan, great to have you in, and thanks for taking time to go through all those fights for our viewers and listeners, and your viewers and listeners as well. All those insights are invaluable. I watch them all before the fight and make little notes and stuff like that. You go good. But most of all, we wish you all the very best on your pursuit into that top 10.
Yep.
Put this guy away, please. And to you and to Israel as well, all the fight fans are right behind you. Go well in Vegas, and we'll see you when you get back.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.